Hi Year 10. Okay, so we're into our second week now and we're going to change topic, moving away from algebra, and we're going to look at fractions this week. Again, it'll be stuff that you would have seen before, so it'll be nothing new, but it's just a bit of a recap and making sure that we're practicing those skills for our GCSE. So again, a bit like last week, this time make sure everything's dated the week beginning the 27th of April again. So when we come back to have a look at how we practice, we can find our work easily. So this lesson is called Simplifying Fractions and Fractions of Amounts. So make sure you've got the date and title in your exercise book or in your jotters that you may have had to buy. Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is simplifying fractions. Now, to simplify a fraction, we have to look for a number, also known as a factor, okay, that goes into both the numerator and the denominator, the top number and the bottom number. Okay, so try and look for the highest factor that goes into both of them. Okay, but if you can't find the highest straight away, it doesn't matter. You can keep going until you've got it down into its lowest terms. So if we look at 2 and 8, we look at what numbers go into both 2 and 8, and they're both in the 2 times table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 2. Now, I would get in the habit of writing down what you're dividing by. Okay, now this is always a dividing. When we're simplifying, it will always be a division. Okay, equivalent fractions can be multiply or divide, never add or subtract. Okay, so we're always wanting to make it smaller, so we're always going to be dividing. So we divide by 2. So we've got 2 divided by 2, which is 1, and 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Then we look at 1 over 4. Now the only number that goes into both of those is 1. So there's no point dividing by 1 because it'll be completely the same. So we know that 2/8 is the same as 1/4. Okay, let's look at the next one. We've got 15 over 25. Now I know that they're both in the 5 times table. So I'm going to divide by 5. So how many 5s go into 15? 3. And how many 5s go into 25? 5. So the answer would be 3/5. Now, if you're unsure about things, you've always got your multiplication grids in the front of your exercise books to help you with this, to see which ones you might need to work on. Right, now we've got even bigger numbers, 160 over 120. Well, the first thing I can see is that they're both in the 10 times table. So I'm going to divide by 10. Okay, so 160 divided by 10 would be 16, and 120 divided by 10 would be 12. Okay, I'm going to look again. Which times table are they both in? They're both in the 2, so let's divide by 2. Okay, so 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. I can see again I can divide by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I've got the answer 4/3. Now notice that this is a top heavy fraction, otherwise known as an improper fraction. That's okay as well. Now, you may have done this just in one step. You might have said, oh, hold on a minute, they're both in the 40 times table and divided by 40. It doesn't matter if it takes you more steps. Okay, the next one. Now, often we look for 2s and 5s because they're the nice times tables, but sometimes we've got numbers that don't belong in the 2s and 5s, so we need to find something that they're both in. So 21 over 49, look on your times table grid in the front of your exercise book. We can see that they're both in the 7 times table. Okay, hopefully that you knew that. Okay, so we're going to divide by 7, so that would be 3 over 7. Okay, now what you can do now is you can have a go at the first lot of questions that are on your lesson plan and then come back to the bit on fractions of amounts, or you can watch the bit on fractions of amounts now and then try both of them at the same time. Okay, right. The next thing I'm going to move on to is fractions of amounts. Okay, now, so put a little subtitle then of fractions of amounts. Again, this is something that we've seen before. Now, I want to find 2/3 of 21. Okay, let's make it a context. So let's say 21 pence. Okay, right. So what I need to do here I need to find basically 1/3 and then times it by 2. So I'm dividing by the denominator and then multiplying by that answer by the numerator. So should we write that down here? So divide by the denominator, okay, then multiply by the numerator. Now, if you're going to forget what those two are, you might want to put this down in here, that the numerator is the top number, okay, and the denominator is the bottom number, just in case you might forget. Now, as I'm putting notes in as well, I suggest that you do too. So, do you remember what we do in the classroom? We always put our important notes highlighting. I think this one's nearly running out. Okay, our important notes there, so it stands out so we can remember what to do. Right, so now let's use these instructions to answer the questions. So 21 pence, divide by the denominator, so divided by 3, so I need to do 21 divided by 3, which is 7 pence. And then that answer I need to multiply by the numerator, so 7 pence times by 2 will be 14 pence. So my final answer is 14p. Okay, let's try the next one. Bigger numbers, but let's not be afraid of them. So I've got 105 divided by 5, which is 21. Okay, and then I take that answer, 21 multiplied by 3 is 63. So I have my final answer there. Okay, and then the last one for this, okay, 63 divided by 9 is 7. And then we take that answer and times it by that. 7 times 5 is 35. And we have our final answer there. Now, notice how I've set them out. That's how I would like you to set them out as well. So you've got a task to do on that lesson plan. You need to have a go at the questions. And then a bit like last week, you need to send me the answers. Okay, send a photograph, just email it to me, and then I can send you the answers back and check that you're okay. Okay, goodbye.